Greetings. Today we're gonna take a look at the Ozark Trails yurt I got from Walmart about a year ago. I'm gonna see how it handles, and not handles, but how it's held up, and let's see if let's see what it is. Alright, so before we get around it too much, let's talk about the tent a little bit. It's about 7 foot tall, I think. I don't know. It's fairly good size. It's supposed to sleep 8 to 10 people. So we could get 2 queen-sized air mattresses in it, easy peasy, and still have a lot of room left for storage if we bring, you know, coolers and grills and stuff that need to come inside. It's very lightweight material. I mean, it's super light, but it's not very airy in it. So the air movement isn't the best, but there's a vent up at the top, so if you open up the side screens, which I'll show you on the inside of the tent, air will come in and you can get some sort of circulation, but it gets pretty stifling when it's hot out, even with those the screen windows opened. So I don't know, it's a little different than other tents. Other tents you have the netting over the top and the air can move through very nicely. This one, if you're in there, it just stays right at the ground level. Anyway, so here we go. It comes with these nasty nylon strings, and they hold it down some. I haven't had to replace any because really I just don't use it that much. I mean, probably maybe 15 times in the last year. So I guess that's a lot for some people, but not for me. Here's that netting, and you see here's the rain flaps that go over the windows, because these windows open. If you lift this up, you can see that the windows don't close at the top from the inside, so you got to rely on that rain flap to keep any kind of precipitation out. There's like, I don't know, 8 poles or something like that, but they don't really do much except for try to make it look like it's rigid inside. So there you go. We'll give it a nice one more look around. See, it's this kind of how it looks. I mean, it looks super cool. The package that came with it, the tent bag, shows hippies at a festival or something like that, and that would probably be what this is best at. Strap, zip, and Velcro, which is nice. And it's got a decent bug net. The floor and everything is pretty much standard for what you get for tents these days. And it's got lots of space. Let's go inside. Alright, here's a brief look of what the inside looks like. As you can see, it's pretty spacious. I mean, there's a queen size air mattress. It's a decent inside. It really is. It's just not very well built. But it's not meant for any kind of real camping. It's meant for, you know, if you want to go to a festival, go play around, and you know the weather's going to be nice. This would be fun to do it in. My kids like it as a play tent, which I like it as that too. There we are. So you got plenty of standing room. Go all the way up. Here we go. Look around. Now, I think I mentioned before that these windows don't zip at the top, and there we go. That's a good example right here. This window doesn't zip all the way to the top, and so you're kind of relying on that outside flap that I showed you earlier to keep the rain out. And sometimes when it's windy, it just doesn't work. Lots of storage. Oh, here's that bag. You know, You see it? A Person Yurt tent. See? Hippies at a convention or something like that. But yeah, it's a fun tent. These vents right here, they work pretty well, but it doesn't hold heat in or anything like that. I mean, it's only meant for it's only meant to be a summer tent, really. You might be able to get away with it in the fall and late spring, but it's not warm at all. This stuff is just very thin, and in the storm, it holds up remarkably well. In a storm, we've been in a couple of storms, but when it gets real windy, it gets sketchy. And this center pole right here, yeah, let me back you up. That's just held by friction with this little table here. Under this table, there's a little bump in the ground for this pipe, and this table is supposed to hold this pole steady. But to be honest with you, when it gets windy, I'm gonna bump you up a little bit there. When it gets windy, this pole will come right down. So when you're sleeping in it, you might wake up with a flat roof, and that's kind of a pain in the butt. Here's the poles. These little poles are what give it the kind of feeling that it might be a yurt, but realistically, it's not ideal, because if you could tell, I mean, if you look over here, it's starting to get a little bit saggy. This has been up a little bit, a couple of days now. It gets a little saggy, and it doesn't hold its shape very well, which means it doesn't allow the airflow to flow freely through it, even when these windows are open. The front door is the only thing that really has tent poles. See, there we are. It's just these, and these aren't really held up very well. But I mean, it does the job. But if you're looking for a real yurt type thing, this is not it. Alright, here's one of the biggest problems. These little pockets that are supposed to hold the pole in, they rip out awfully easy, and I've been trying to repair this with the tent tape and fabric tape, and I ended up just saying screw it and tried to sew it in. They break super easy if you're not paying a lot of attention when you put the outside lines in. So luckily I only had one rip on me, and that was more than enough for me to learn my lesson. That's the Ozark Trail 8-person yurt in a nutshell. It came from Walmart. It wasn't that much money. It's like $130 maybe, I think. Probably less, I don't know. I shouldn't even say what a price is, because I don't know what it is these days, but last year I think that's what it was. It's a fun little tent. It's not very sturdy. There's a lot of room for improvement. So if I was going to get this tent again, the first thing I would do is buy a bunch of PVC pipe, like 1/2 inch or 1 or 3/4 inch pipe, and fittings, so I can mold the inside up to make it a little bit sturdier, so the corners between the poles and the guidelines don't dip, because when they sweep down like that, the windows that don't seal at the top get lower than the rain flies, that orange rain fly, and then you get wet when it rains, and that just sucks, because then the tent gets moldy, because this doesn't dry very well. It'll feel dry to the touch, and you gotta let it dry another 72 hours. And if you live anywhere where it rains routinely, I don't know, like here, it's some years it never goes 72 hours without raining. So it is what it is. But other than that, I mean, I enjoy it. It's tall. I like being able to stand up. I like being able to have a cot in there, so I'm not touching the sides of the tent, because you know how sometimes when you touch the side of the tent, the the dew builds up and you get wet just because you're touching this in the outside of the tent wall. But there you have it. I don't recommend and I don't not recommend the tent. It's okay. It's great for kids. It's great for family. If you're not doing anything more than like an overnight or 2 nights. If you want something that's a little bit more substantial that can handle more inclement weather, this isn't what you want. If you just want something to play around with, sit by a campfire or backyard tent, it's great for a backyard. And that way, when the storm comes in, or if it starts raining, or when you get cold, because there's no insulative power in that thin material, you just go right inside. Works. Anyway, thanks for watching. I hope this helps answer any questions you might have about it if you've seen it in the store and were wondering. I wonder who's had that have used it. And if not, maybe this will help you decide that you don't want it or do want it. Well, there you go. Thanks for watching.